The Great Squirrel Adventure. In the heart of a sprawling forest, where towering oak and maple trees formed a canopy of green, there lived a community of squirrels who were unlike any others. They were clever, adventurous, and always up for a challenge. Among them was a young squirrel named Nutmeg, known throughout the forest for her curiosity and daring spirit. Nutmeg had a bushy tail that she proudly flaunted and bright, twinkling eyes that were always searching for the next big adventure. The mystery of the missing acorns. One crisp autumn morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the trees, Nutmeg noticed something peculiar. The great oak tree, which was famous for its bountiful acorns, was nearly bare. The entire forest depended on the acorns for food, and it was almost unheard of for the oak to be empty so early in the season. Nutmeg scurried up the tree to investigate and found only a few acorns scattered on the ground. Nutmeg gathered her friends, Chipper, a mischievous squirrel with a knack for climbing the tallest trees, Whiskers, the wisest and oldest squirrel in the forest, and Hazel, Nutmeg's best friend and the fastest squirrel around. Together, they formed the Squirrel Squad, a team that had solved many forest mysteries before, but this was their biggest challenge yet. "We need to find out who's taking our acorns," Nutmeg declared, her tail twitching with determination. The journey begins. The Squirrel Squad set off to investigate. They climbed trees, dug through piles of leaves, and questioned the other forest animals. They spoke to the chipmunks, who were busy gathering their winter stash, but they claimed to know nothing. They asked the blue jays, who were notorious for their love of shiny things, but they denied any involvement. The forest was buzzing with whispers about the missing acorns, and the mystery only deepened. One evening, as the sun began to set, Nutmeg noticed something strange. Small footprints led away from the great oak tree, heading deeper into the darker part of the forest, a place few dared to go. Nutmeg and her friends followed the tracks cautiously, their hearts pounding with excitement and a bit of fear. They entered the Shadow Grove, a dense and shadowy area where the trees grew close together, and sunlight rarely reached the forest floor. A new friend or foe? As they ventured further, they heard a rustling sound. The Squirrel Squad froze, their ears twitching as they tried to identify the source. Suddenly, a figure darted out from the bushes, a squirrel they had never seen before. He was small, with a scruffy coat and a nervous look in his eyes. He introduced himself as Rusty and confessed that he was new to the forest, having traveled from far away. Rusty explained that he had been gathering acorns because he didn't know how much food he needed for winter, and he didn't realize he was taking so many. He had been storing them in a hidden burrow he dug in the Shadow Grove, far from where any other squirrels usually went. Rusty's voice trembled as he apologized, his bushy tail drooping in shame. Nutmeg and her friends listened carefully. They realized that Rusty hadn't meant any harm, he was just trying to survive in a new place. Nutmeg felt a pang of sympathy. After all, Rusty was alone and didn't know the ways of the forest yet. The Great Acorn Rescue. Nutmeg hatched a plan. The Squirrel Squad would help Rusty redistribute the acorns to ensure that the forest had enough food for everyone. Together, they worked tirelessly, carrying acorns back to the great oak tree and other key spots throughout the forest. Rusty, grateful for their help, joined in eagerly. He learned from Nutmeg and her friends how to gather what he needed without taking too much, and in return, he taught them some clever tricks he had learned from his travels. The forest buzzed with excitement as acorns were returned, and the animals celebrated the newfound friendship. The Squirrel Squad's teamwork and quick thinking had saved the day, and Rusty was welcomed as a new member of the community. A new beginning. With the acorn crisis resolved, the forest returned to its usual rhythm. Nutmeg, Chipper, Whiskers, Hazel, and Rusty often gathered at the great oak, sharing stories of their adventures. Nutmeg learned that sometimes, even those who seem like foes can become friends, and Rusty found a new home and family in the forest. The Squirrel Squad continued to explore and protect their forest home, always ready for the next big adventure. Nutmeg, now wiser than before, knew that the forest was full of mysteries waiting to be solved, and with her friends by her side, there was nothing they couldn't handle. And so, the tale of Nutmeg and the Great Squirrel Adventure became a story told by squirrels everywhere, a reminder that with a little courage, curiosity, and kindness, even the biggest problems could be solved.